a fresh pack of pens, never willing to accept of fear. She's loved in many channels, every gay chant on nights and black blue lights. Heaven help them when she recites. Mysterious life, girl got skills. She moves in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. Makeshift guests and a cat that bites. When you see her coming, take your pills. No place for snowflakes or sensitive hearts. When sentiment is left to chance, she'll send you back to your start. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switches to crumpet, bends them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Verse by verse, exploring the text. She reads and recites, not knowing the tongue, learning every step of the way. Melts all your memories and feeds you facts. Her zeal is like fire, but her heart is of gold. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switch to crumpet, bans them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Smooth moderator. 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 Ooh, moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator.
Hello, hello, all that are tuning in. Good evening. Welcome to this Thursday's episode of Exploration. I am a bit like on the hop here, running late, so I'm going to play another tune while I try and get myself together. I do have a topic. I do have a source for us to look at. So yeah, a tune while I finish off, get myself together.
Exploring consciousness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. From the realm of the dead, stumbling through fractured reality. Truth is a needle in a haystack, wondering what happened to me. Exploring happiness. What does it mean? Looking up definitions, watching narratives fall apart at the seams. Was it all a bad dream? What on earth could have happened to me? Truth is a needle in a haystack. Discern fake from reality. getting lost, pitch black, dopamine hits, thinking slow and fast. Watch a narrative fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up. Watch a narrative fall apart at the seams. Waking up, waking up, waking up. Waking up, waking
There we are, waking up. I'm still trying to wake up, even though I've been awake and up and Adam and out all day. My internet's been giving me some jips, so I've been trying to get that one sorted. But while I'm trying to get that sorted, I might not even get it sorted. It's that bad at the minute. So, right, okay. It's now coming up to 20 to 9. I've chosen not to have any panelists tonight, so Ravioli and Nagar and Banksy, if you turn up, it's just the way I'm doing it tonight, because I'm running late and I fancy it to be this way tonight. So if you do turn up, you're welcome to hang about until after the stream if you want to come backstage for a chat. So anyway, hello, Tina in the live chat, Stevie Boy in the live chat, anyone lurking, loving, hating, whatever you're up to. I hope you are enjoying yourselves and that you're going to find what I'm going to look at tonight useful. And that, I don't know, maybe you can sharpen your critical thinking skills. Put something in the chat to sharpen mine as well. Who knows where this can go. Anyway, so tonight is Thursday, 16th of April, 2026. And without further ado, tonight's topic is salt. What do we really know? Salt. Yes, the stuff that comes from the ground, the stuff that's in the sea. Where else is it? It's in plants. It's in us. It's in the air. Like, you can taste it in the air when you're near the sea, right? Salt is everywhere. But what do we really know about it? We've been spun yarns, I reckon. That's my thoughts thus far. I'm open to change. That is what this exploration series is all about. Really looking at things and sharpening our critical thinking skills and finding out the facts more deeply if we can about matters. So, yeah, I reckon we've been spun yarns about salt. We've been told it's unhealthy. We've been told that we should cut down on salt. Yet that's been, I don't know, possibly something that we've been told to do since the 50s-ish. But up until the 1950s, for thousands of years, we did quite all right with salt, as far as I know. Like, we didn't try to cut it out. We didn't try to split it up into bits and remove this mineral from it and that mineral from it. Stevie Boy in the chat says it's sodium. Well, I think that it's just one part of salt, sodium. I think it's one of the many ingredients. Stevie Boy also says it was used to preserve meat. Yes, it was. And I think it continues to be, depending on how people choose to preserve the meat. I want to look further into it. The reason why, okay, I'll start with the reason why. Today, I opened my YouTube and there was this video on it. And I thought, I've not seen this person, before. I've not seen what they've got to say. I've not seen anything about them on YouTube before. And I have looked into salt. So, I've got my usual podcasters that I go to and all the rest of it. But this video in particular, I don't know why, it just piqued an interest. Well, yeah, it was talking about blood pressure, looking at it from that perspective, right? And I was thinking of someone who I know with blood pressure problems and how this video might be beneficial to them. And I thought, all right, this is actually a good topic for us to explore. So I'm going to share this video, go through it, review what they say. Feel free to review with me in the comments. We'll see where we go with it. So let's get this video on. Here it is. Let's press play.
The salt lie. What's really behind your high blood pressure? It's not what you think. So a few months ago, a woman came to me absolutely terrified. She'd just been to her doctor, her GP, and he told her that her blood pressure was dangerously high. Really scary, right? People die from high blood pressure. After all, she was 52, fit-ish, not overweight, thought she was pretty healthy, didn't smoke, and yet there she was being handed a prescription for blood pressure medication and told to come back in 6 months. No conversation about what she was eating, but doctors tend never to ask. No mention of her stress levels, no blood work beyond just the basics. Just, here's your pills, off you go. So she asked me, Emma, what on earth is going on inside my body? And that question, that single question is what this video is really all about. Because the answer isn't very complicated, but it is being almost completely ignored. So today I'm going to walk you through the hidden drivers of high blood pressure that nobody's connecting the dots on. We're going to talk about the mineral that most people are desperately short of, why the salt advice you've been given is probably backwards, and what your doctor was never taught, and what I'd actually do if my own blood pressure was climbing. Stay with me, this might just change how you think about your health. Right, let's start with the mineral that's silently running the show, or rather the mineral whose absence is causing the chaos. Magnesium. Here's a really simple way to think about it. Imagine your blood vessels are like a hose pipe. Calcium's what makes the hose clamp down and tighten. Magnesium's what lets it relax and soften. You need both. It's a dance. But here's the problem. Most people are getting plenty of calcium, often too much, especially if they're supplementing and if they're eating calcium-fortified foods, and there's just nowhere near enough magnesium. And your body has a cunning little workaround for calcium. If you're a bit short, it'll just quietly borrow some from your bones. You don't even know it's happening. Not ideal. That's how osteoporosis develops. But it will do it in the name of keeping you alive. Magnesium has no such backup plan. There's no magnesium savings account. If you're not eating it, then you haven't got it. Your blood vessels can't relax when you don't have enough magnesium. They stay contracted and tight, and your pressure goes up. That's the mechanics of it right there. So let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about or considered magnesium? Because I hadn't until quite recently. Now, why are we all so depleted in this big mineral? Four reasons. One is our soils. The bit we can't do much about is the topsoil that grows our food. It's been hammered by industrial farming, monocropping, synthetic fertilizers, and glyphosate, or Roundup. The mineral content of our vegetables has dropped dramatically over the past 50 to 70 years. You'd need to eat about 8 oranges today to get the same vitamin A that your grandmother got from 1 orange. And it's the same story with magnesium. And the recommended daily amounts, the RDAs, you might be interested to know that they haven't been updated since this happened. So when you're reading about how much of a particular mineral or nutrient is in your food, when you're looking at those labels, or you're looking at the recommended daily amounts, bear in mind that that number was probably calculated back around the Second World War, when our soils were still full of nutrients, when farming was more circular or regenerative, the way it had been for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, leading up to that point. So number 2, processed food. Refining the food strips out the minerals. Your white flour, your white rice, your white pasta, your white sugar, all of them have had the good stuff removed. You're eating calories with no cofactors. And those starchy white foods turn straight into sugar in your body, which in turn depletes your other minerals. Number 3, stress. Your body burns through magnesium when you're stressed. It's like running the heating with the windows open. And the more stressed you are, the faster your reserves drain. And number 4, medications. Many common medications, including, ironically, some blood pressure drugs, deplete magnesium further. So it's a vicious cycle. It's actually trying to be sunny out here, and it's raining. Weather has completely changed from the last video I did. We've got much warmer temperatures and buckets of rain. So all morning, Mikey's been at me to get outside. Come on, let's go for a walk. And it was absolutely tipping down, but it's finally not tipping down, and we got some sunshine. I've got a better stick. Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, who wrote the brilliant book Gut and Psychology Syndrome, has been...
Right, so before she goes any further, I have to say I agree with her thus far, what she's saying about magnesium, how we just use it, our body uses it on everything. It needs it to be able to produce the hormones, it needs it to pass the energy all around the body. As far as I'm aware, that's what electrolytes are for, and the electrolytes are magnesium, calcium, potassium, all these things that you get in trace mineral rich salt, right? So not your regular table salts where they've been stripped of all those other things. That's my thoughts on it. Yes, zinc as well, which in particular ruminant meat is a good source of, if you can't afford or you can't stomach a very good quality, what are they called? Oysters. That's them. Gosh. Right, I'll go back to the video. I'm losing my mouth here.
Been banging on about this for years. She puts it very plainly. High blood pressure isn't a disease. It's a symptom of deeper imbalance, and magnesium deficiency is one of the biggest culprits. Chapter 2, the sugar magnesium heist. This is the aha moment. This is where it gets properly interesting, because it's not just that we're not getting enough magnesium, we're actively having it stolen from us. And sugar is what's known as an anti-nutrient. Ow! So every time your body has to process refined sugar, it uses up precious minerals to do it. Magnesium, zinc, vitamin B, B vitamins. It's like a burglar who breaks into your house, leaves the TV, but takes all the copper wiring. And the ratio is staggering. Dr. Campbell-McBride points out that it takes approximately 50 molecules of magnesium to process just 1 molecule of refined sugar. Think about that, 50 to 1. So that mid-afternoon biscuit or cookie or whatever you call it, depending where you are watching this from, or that spoonful in your tea, or that slice of cake, each one is a withdrawal from your mineral reserves. And over time, those reserves, they're going to run dry. But it's not just the obvious sugar. And this is where people get really caught out. It's the bread, it's the pasta, it's the rice, it's the cereals, it's the low-fat crackers. It's all those things that we've been told are healthy whole grains. They all break down into glucose almost immediately, almost instantly in the body. They spike our insulin and they drain magnesium in the process. Think of it like this. Your body is like a bank account. Every time you eat processed carbohydrates or sugar, you're making a withdrawal. Every time you eat mineral-rich whole foods, that's your meat, your fish, your eggs, your leafy greens, you're making a deposit. Most people are wildly overdrawn and they don't even know it. And guess what happens when you're tired, anxious, stressed? You reach for more sugar, more toast, more comfort food, and the cycle deepens.
Before we go any further, when you're consuming all the things that your body really has to work hard to deal with, like sugar and refined carbs and all of that she's on about, that also stresses your system, right? Which increases your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So for your body to be able to produce that hormone, it needs to draw on even more magnesium. So not only have you got life stresses raising your cortisol, which in turn raises your blood sugar levels, which in turn raises your insulin resistance. Insulin is another hormone, right? So all of that stresses your system. All of that has to draw on even more of your magnesium supply, which you're already low on. So, yeah, consuming all of those things doesn't just poison your system, it depletes you of everything, every last bit that you haven't much of in your system for what you need already. Gosh, this is serious.
Many of my clients describe themselves as emotional eaters. And I reckon most of us could write a cookbook called something like Feelings with a Side of Double Chocolate Brownie. But comfort eating is the most uncomfortable comfort there is because it makes you feel worse afterwards, worse in the long run rather than feeling better. So I'm going to attempt to walk and talk. But I've just realised I've got a white jumper on and it's very mucky old stick hands. So we'll see how this goes.
For the gorgeous little doggy.
First of all, I'll retrieve the ball just here. Up, right, Mr. Dog. So, chapter 3, the Great Salt Swindle. Oops, right, so we need to talk about salt because the advice that you've almost certainly been given about salt and high blood pressure is, let's just put it diplomatically, incomplete. And less diplomatically, a load of absolute tosh. I know people who've avoided, they've not only avoided salt in their food for years, but they've prevented their children from eating it too, which I consider to be a form of child abuse. But it's not entirely their fault because for decades, we've been told by our doctors that salt raises blood pressure and watch your sodium, and millions of people with high blood pressure have dutifully thrown away their salt cellars and started eating bland, unseasoned, horrible tasting food, believing that they're saving their hearts, believing that they're being virtuous. But here's what that advice misses completely. It's not salt per se that's the villain. It's the type of salt. And that distinction changes everything. But you try explaining that to someone who's an avid salt avoider. They look at you like you've just suggested that sprinkling uncut cocaine over your food as a seasoning is a really good idea. And they look at you like you're a complete moron for even suggesting it. So standard table salt, the white stuff in most kitchens and in virtually all processed food, is sodium chloride, full stop. It has been stripped and bleached of every mineral that it ever contained. Just think about that for a moment. Often anti-caking agents have been added, sometimes even sugar, I know, seriously. And it's a processed industrial product. And yes, eating loads of that, especially from ultra-processed food, is going to cause you problems. But natural, unrefined salt, like Redmond's real salt, or a good quality Himalayan pink salt, or Celtic sea salt, or Baja Gold, if you're really bougie. Those are completely different substances. Yes, they contain sodium, but perfectly balanced with magnesium, potassium, calcium, dozens of other trace minerals, the very minerals that your body needs to regulate its blood pressure. So think of it like this. Processed table salt is it's like a football team with only a striker, no midfield, no defence, no goalkeeper. It's unbalanced. Natural salt is your full squad. Everyone's playing his or her position. The minerals will all work synergistically together. And here's the thing. When you cut all the salt, you can actually make things worse because sodium works in partnership with potassium and magnesium. And if you slash the sodium without addressing the others, you're going to throw your whole electrolyte balance off. Your body responds by ramping up aldosterone, and that tells your kidneys to hold on to sodium, and that can actually raise your blood pressure. So the very thing you're trying to fix, you're making potentially worse. So the real culprit, it isn't the salt from your kitchen. It's the salt that's hidden in the industrially ultra-processed food, in the crisps, in the ready meals, in the takeaways, in the sauces, in the packaged foods, the packaged snacks. That's your processed sodium without any of its balancing minerals because they've all been stripped out. So if you're eating single ingredient whole foods and seasoning with a good quality natural salt, then you're giving your body exactly what it needs. If, however, you're eating those single ingredient whole foods and you fear salt and you avoid all of it because you wholeheartedly believe it's bad for you, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And I'm talking failure literally in so many of your body systems. Chapter 4, what your doctor wasn't taught. Now, I want to be really clear here because what I'm not doing is having a go at your doctor, your MD, your GP. Most of them are decent, hardworking people. We're doing their best in a system that simply hasn't been equipped for this type of conversation. The research tells us something quite sobering. Up to 80% of people diagnosed with high blood pressure receive no meaningful guidance about diet or physical activity during their consultations. Not a mention of magnesium, not a word about processed food, not a suggestion just to go for a walk after dinner, just the prescription and, here's your pills. So, and that's the same whether you're in that consultation because you're worried about your high blood pressure or because you've got an unexplained lump that you want the doctor to look into further, or you're being told that your cholesterol's too high, or you've got type 2 diabetes. They almost never ask what you're eating. What do you fuel your body with on a daily basis for your entire life? And here's why. It's because doctors receive on average, fewer than 20 hours of nutrition training in their entire medical degree. 20 hours. I've spent more time than that researching a single mineral.
Right. I have to stop here, right? I agree with, oh, hello, Lady Muck in the chat. I have to agree with her that doctors aren't trained enough about this. But I cannot make excuses for doctors. This is just from my own perspective, because I can't help but think, right, these highly trained doctors, how do they get their places in further education and then higher education in order for them to come out with the qualifications to become a doctor if they don't have the critical thinking skills enough to ask for that information? Why aren't they asking for that information? Why aren't they in their training, right? Not just being indoctrinated, but asking questions, thinking critically, proven to the universities that they can think and that they're always going to try to find the answers to help people live a healthy life. Instead, this shows me a massive problem in the education system, because the education system is more than happy for these trainee doctors, or whatever they want to call themselves when they're at university and everything, to not ask questions, to just be fed lines that they're then going to feed to their patients. There's no critical thinking at all if that's been accepted, because it didn't used to be that way. And supposedly we're more advanced now, whereas I'd say the evidence is in that we are not more advanced now. Our doctors aren't asking the questions that they used to ask, because salt was always good for you. And now, after being told for years that salt is bad for us, and doctors not asking questions, trainees not asking questions, universities not awarding certificates to people who ask questions, but awarding certificates to people who don't ask questions, means that we have gone backwards instead of forwards in scientific knowledge, medical knowledge, nutritional knowledge. Anyway, it's just, pisses me off. Let's go back to this.
And that was just in 1 month. And what little doctors are taught is often based on outdated, industrially influenced guidelines, the kind that still promote the food pyramid and tell you to swap butter for margarine. And by the way, even the US government has finally caught up, which is brilliant news. In January this year, 2026, they literally flipped the food pyramid upside down, just like in that South Park episode from 2014, 12 years ago. Protein and healthy fats are now at the top. Refined carbohydrates and ultra-processed foods, avoid. Their words, not mine. Only took them about 40 years, but better late than never. So when your GP, your doctor, doesn't mention magnesium-rich foods or cutting ultra-processed carbs, please don't take it personally. They probably weren't taught it. The system is set up to diagnose and medicate and eliminate symptoms, or symptom suppression. That's your model of Western medicine. Never investigate root causes. And that means millions of people are being managed and never helped. And the symptom is just being suppressed, being squashed, while the underlying driver just keeps on doing more and more damage. So what about magnesium testing? What about checking fasting insulin? What about stress management or a simple food first approach to reducing inflammation? Mostly crickets, nothing, nada. Radio silence. Chapter 5, the other drivers that nobody's mentioning. Now, I don't want to put all the blame on one mineral, because the truth is high blood pressure is usually a cocktail of issues. So let's round up the other usual suspects. Low potassium and calcium, especially if you're not eating enough animal foods or organic leafy greens grown in excellent organic soil. Potassium is essential for balancing sodium and supporting your kidneys and your adrenals, your adrenal glands. So think avocados, wild salmon, beef, mushrooms, cooked greens. Let's talk about refined seed oils. You've got your soybean, sunflower, safflower, cottonseed, corn, canola, grapeseed, rice bran oil. I've probably missed a couple. These will damage your blood vessels, no question about it. They're in virtually everything that comes in a packet. Your body cannot build healthy cell membranes from these oils, and damaged vessels mean higher blood pressure, chronic stress, and high cortisol. Stress doesn't just feel bad, it physiologically raises your blood pressure and burns through your magnesium at the same time. It's a double hit. And here's the thing, stress comes in so many forms, and half the time you don't even realize it's happening. Your subconscious registers it, but you carry on thinking everything's fine while it's secretly doing unseen damage inside your body. This has become really apparent to me since I started wearing an Aura ring a few months ago. So it'll tell me I've had a stressful day, and I'll think, I thought today was pretty good, nothing too upsetting, but it picks up on all kinds of small things, and then cumulatively over the years they layer on top of one another. Overnight, and will blunt your body's ability to recover if you're not sleeping well. Your cardiovascular system never gets proper rest. And then there's the overarching problem, ultra-processed foods. When the majority of your diet comes out of colourful boxes and packets and wrappers, then you are getting too much of the wrong kind of everything. That's the wrong salt, the wrong fats, wrong carbs, and not nearly enough of the nutrients and minerals that your body is actually crying out for. This is precisely why I champion a single ingredient whole food approach, more like our ancestors ate. So if it had a face or it grew in the ground, eat it. And I love that analogy, which I first heard from my gorgeous friend Laura in Devon. And if it came off a production line and it has a list of ingredients that you can't pronounce, then leave it on the shelf. Go and get the ball, Maggie. Chapter 6, what I'd do if my blood pressure was high. Right, here's what I'd actually do if I had high blood pressure, and I don't. Nothing fluffy, no fads. This is what I'd put in place if my numbers were creeping up. So number 1, I'd start with magnesium. I'd supplement daily. I'd split it across morning through to evening. How much should you take? Well, Morley Robbins, who created the root cause protocol, he recommends 5 milligrams per pound of body weight, or 10 milligrams per kilo. So if you weigh 10 stone, that's about 600 to 700 milligrams. And if you're going through a stressful time, you might need even more because, as I said already, stress burns through magnesium like nobody's business. I take magnesium malate in the mornings and at lunchtime because it's energizing, and magnesium glycinate is my go-to at nighttime because it also supports my sleep. Now, it's worth noting here, the primary recommended forms are glycinate and malate because of their absorbability and higher percentage of elemental magnesium. So don't go for a magnesium complex, lots to mix together, as it will generally contain ingredients which aren't so beneficial, like magnesium oxide and citrate. Plus, they can have a laxative effect, and then that means that less of the nutrient is being absorbed into your body, so your body's not benefiting as much. And you need this stuff to stay in your system long enough to be able to utilize it, not just to flush straight out of you with a laxative effect. Citrate is useful if constipation is an issue, but be aware it can tear through you with like a freight train. So this gives your body no time to absorb anything positive from it. If it's the proper stuff, the 80% plus. Also pumpkin seeds, almonds, make sure you buy them raw and soak them well. If I ever use them, I soak them overnight and then I rinse them well and allow them to air dry naturally before I eat them, because nuts and seeds contain phytates and lectins and oxalates, and they are all anti-nutrients which will block magnesium absorption and irritate your gut. So soaking them overnight and rinsing them well helps to break down these compounds, making the nutrients more bioavailable, which is what you want, and much easier on your digestion. Spinach, it's high in magnesium. It's also high in oxalates and lectins. So if you do choose to include this in your diet, always cook it. No more raw spinach salads and smoothies. If you cook it with some dairy, the calcium in the dairy binds to the less than desirable ingredients in the spinach, making it kinder on the digestive system, on the delicate lining of your digestive tract, which you should be protecting. It's raining again now. So number 2, cut out the sugar and the processed carbs, not overnight, gradually, meal by meal. Swap the cereal and toast for protein and eggs, leftovers, steak, wild salmon, even a sardine omelette for the brave. These are meals that are going to stabilize your blood sugar rather than spiking it. And every time you replace a processed carb meal with a protein and fat meal, you're making a deposit into your mineral bank account. And 3, switch the salt. Bin the table salt. Get yourself a good quality natural salt like Redmond's or a good Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt, and use it liberally. Season your food properly. Apart from making it taste more delicious, your body needs those trace minerals, and cutting salt is very, very counterproductive. And number 4, add potassium-rich foods. That's your avocados, wild salmon, beef, mushrooms, cooked greens. You need the potassium to balance the sodium and support your kidneys and adrenals. Most people are only getting a fraction of what they need. And bear in mind here that if you supplement with synthetic vitamin D, it's been a known fact since 1962 when research was done at Yale Medical School that supplementing with synthetic vitamin D causes renal potassium wasting. That's renal is your kidneys, and that can take years to correct. So think very carefully about which supplements you're using and educate yourself about what they're really doing in your body. Ask questions. Number 5, walk after meals. Nice and simple, just 10 minutes of gentle movement after eating can reduce your post-blood sugar spike after the meal. And over time, it'll make your insulin more sensitive and it'll lower your blood pressure. And it's the simplest hack in the world, and it's free. And 6, get morning sunlight, another freebie. Your circadian rhythm matters more than you think. So morning light helps you to regulate cortisol, which in turn affects your blood pressure throughout the day. So 10 minutes first thing. If you can't get outside, just look out of a window without any glasses, contact lenses, no sunglasses. Let the light hit your eyes. It's a messenger and it's necessary for our health. And 7, address stress like it's a medical issue, because it is. Try breath work or grounding with your shoes off, feet on the earth, or reading something calming before bed instead of doom scrolling on your phone. Try no screens after dark, and lavender oil on your temples. And personally, I use a Shakti mat, which I lie on every night before I go to sleep. It stimulates acupressure points on your back, and it's profoundly relaxing. So find whatever works for you and then do it consistently. Chapter 7, the tests which are worth asking for. So if you've got higher blood pressure, a standard blood panel from your doctor is unlikely to tell you very much. It'll probably just look at your cholesterol and your basic kidney markers, and that's barely scratching the surface. So here's what I'd ask for. Magnesium, RBC, not serum magnesium. So serum magnesium is virtually useless because your body will pull magnesium from your cells to keep your serum levels looking normal. And you can be severely deficient and your tests will tell you you're fine. So RBC, red blood cell magnesium, will tell you what's actually going on inside the red blood cells where it really matters. Fasting insulin, HbA1c, and fasting glucose to see what's actually happening with your blood sugar or your blood sugar regulation. High fasting insulin is one of the earliest warning signs that something's off. And it often shows up years before blood sugar goes haywire. And if you haven't done so before, think about wearing a continuous glucose monitor. You can buy them off the shelf now. You don't need a prescription. Wear it for a couple of weeks. See what your blood sugar is doing in real time. See what the patterns are. See what's causing it to spike. Because when blood sugar goes high, insulin follows. Cortisol, ideally a 4-point test throughout the day, not just a single morning reading. And vitamin D status. Now, I'm not talking about supplemental vitamin D or supplementing with synthetic vitamin D here, which is actually a hormone, not a vitamin. I'm talking about getting your levels checked so you can see the full picture. And the best way to optimize your vitamin D, get outside. Morning sunlight, it's free and your body knows what to do with it. Stick your head out of a window if you can't get outside. A full electrolyte panel that includes sodium, potassium, and calcium. Homocysteine, an amino acid marker that when elevated indicates inflammation and increased cardiovascular risk. Thyroid panel, including free T3, free T4 and reverse T3. An underperforming thyroid can absolutely affect your blood pressure, and it's routinely overlooked. Your blood pressure is the symptom. These markers will point you towards the cause. And once you know the cause, you can actually do something about it. Got to walk through this muddy bit here now. So I'll put all this information together in a free PDF with the research references as well, because it's a lot to take in. And if you would like access to my free PDFs, add yourself to my mailing list, and then feel free to download whichever ones you fancy. We've normalized a world where nearly 1 in 2 adults is walking around with elevated blood pressure. And most of them have no idea why. Or worse than that even, they've been told that they can't do anything about it except take a tablet for the rest of their lives. Mikey, come on, stop being tough. But your intelligent body doesn't just malfunction for no reason. It responds to its inputs. That's your food, your thoughts, your sleep, your stress load, to the minerals that you're giving it or not giving it. As Dr. Campbell McBride puts it, you don't treat symptoms, you remove the cause, and that's the work. That's the shift. So if your numbers are creeping up, don't just reach for a pill, a prescription, reach for your fork, your salt, the right salt, your shoes, your breath, sunlight, because your body's trying to talk to you. It's trying to tell you something. The question is, are you ready to listen? Look, I'm not telling anyone to stop taking their medication, but I am saying loudly and clearly, ask why, ask what's causing it, and start making changes that address the root cause, not just the reading on the cuff. And if you're interested in a discovery call with me, 30 minutes to discuss where you are right now with your health and where, more importantly, where you would like to be, there's a link down in the description which takes you to my calendar. We can have a conversation to see if we would like to work together. Thank you so much for watching. If this has opened your eyes even a little, please hit subscribe. It really does help the channel to grow. Please give me a like, give me a comment, And it also helps me to keep bringing you free myth-busting content every single week. I'll see you on the next one. Cheerio for now. Oh, and if you enjoyed this one, you might like to watch one of these two next. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Awesome. Right, I'm going to put the link to this video in the description of this live, this exploration live. What I'm going to do is play a tune while I try and get a cup of tea or something like that together, and then I'm going to start exploring, like say from Britannica or something like that, see what I can find on the break. Salt.
On my own. Thought I could manage what I'd allowed. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Until I asked for help, I kept falling. Thought I was going round in circles. It was a downward spiral, relentless eyes. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. For help, and that felt like hell. Didn't realize how much pain I was disarming. How many demons and ill will I was carrying. I'd bitten off more than I could chew. Conquer them. To conquer them. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. Learning my downfalls is difficult. All of them had become my normal. I'm afraid of them and relieved to have found them. As though I've bitten off more than I could chew. Overwhelming fear and dread, though I must face them to conquer them. Back from the dead, back from the dead. Oh, to make sure I can come back from the dead, back from the dead. Back from the dead, back from the dead, back from the dead. There's a hustle and a bustle. It's been hustling and a bustling a while. A long, long while. It's a city on a town. It's concrete over beauty. How that came to be. Lights go out, but it's wide awake. I can feel it breathing. The city with a purpose, anticipating until I sleep. It can feel me breathing. It knows I'm listening. The city with a purpose, sparks of beauty occur. There's a hustle and a bustle. It's been hustling and a bustling a while, a long, long while. Lights go out, but it's wide awake. I don't feel entertained. The city with a purpose, no intention to cure me. I don't like the circus, never been, never will. The city with a purpose. The city with a purpose. There's a hustle and a bustle. It's been hustling and a bustling a while, a long, long while. I don't like the circus, never been, never will. The city with a purpose. 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 The city with a purpose.
Right, copper in hand. Back to salt. What do we really know? I found an article in britannica.com/science/salt. Again, I'll put the link to that in the description to this video when it ends, probably. Now, let's see if I can, there we are, share screen, share this article. We'll start reading it at the very least. It's now 26 minutes past 9. Not sure how much of this we'll get through, but we'll give it a go. Let's see. There, make the screen a bit bigger. So, salt, sodium chloride. This is according to Britannica.com. Also known as common salt, sodium chloride, or table salt. Right. Let's. These are questions, top questions. Not going to go through them. We could go through them after we've read what's in this article. So it says salt, NaC1, mineral substance of great importance to human and animal health, as well as to industry. The mineral form halite or rock salt, I think it's pronounced halite, Halide, or halite, or rock salt, is sometimes called common salt to distinguish it from a class of chemical compounds called salts. So salt. Properties of common salt are shown in the, click here to see full size table, right? So this table, I assume, is right. Let's have a look at this. I think that's just the same. Let me just check. Yeah, it is just the same. So we might as well go back to where we were. Right. Properties of salt. Name of compound, sodium chloride. Chemical formula, NaC1. Formula weight, 58.443. Color, colorless or white when pure. Colored splotches, e.g. blue, purple, when impure. Lustre, vitreous. Physical form, transparent to translucent cubic crystals, also powder or granules. I don't know what this is. MOHS hardness, 2.5. Density at 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 2.17 grams per centimeter cubed. Melting point, 801 degrees Celsius, which is 1,474 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hardy. Boiling point, 1,465 degrees Celsius. That's 2,669 degrees Fahrenheit. Solubility, water, in brackets S, star, glycerol, glycerol. I think I say, oh my God, is that how you pronounce that? S in brackets, alcohol, SS in brackets, with a cross sign. Oh, these are all like, okay, hydrochloric acid, I, and then the, I don't know what symbol that is. Right, okay, there's a key here at the bottom. So the S means soluble. That looks like a Christian cross sign, means slightly soluble, which is SS, and that double cross sign, which is an I, meaning insoluble. All right, so the water is soluble, the glycerol, if that's how you pronounce it, is soluble. The alcohol is slightly soluble, and the hydrochloric acid is insoluble. Right. Salt is essential to the health of both people and animals. Table salt, used universally as a seasoning, is fine-grained and of high purity. To ensure that this hygroscopic, i.e. water-attracting, substance will remain free-flowing when exposed to the atmosphere, small quantities of sodium aluminosilicate. No, I don't think I've pronounced that correctly. Aluminosilicate. Oh gosh. Tricalcium phosphate, excuse me, or magnesium silicate are added. Iodized salt, that is, salt to which small quantities of potassium iodide have been added, is widely used in areas where iodine is lacking from the diet, a deficiency that can cause swelling of the thyroid gland, commonly called goitre. I think that's how you pronounce that. Livestock also require salt. It is often made available in solid blocks. The meat packing, sausage making, fish curing, and food processing industries use salt as a preservative or seasoning or both. It is employed for curing and preserving hides and as a brine for refrigeration. In the chemical industry, salt is required in the manufacture of sodium bicarbonate, that's baking soda, sodium hydroxide, caustic soda, hydrochloric acid, chlorine, and many other chemicals. Salt is also employed in soap, glaze, and porcelain enamel manufacture, and enters into metallurgical processes as a flux, a substance promoting fusing of metals. When applied to snow or ice, salt lowers the melting point of the mixture. Thus, large amounts are used in northern climates to help rid through thoroughfares of accumulated snow and ice. Salt is used in water softening equipment that removes calcium and magnesium compounds from water. History of use. In some parts of the Western Hemisphere and in India, the use of salt was introduced by Europeans, but in parts of Central Africa, it is still a luxury available only to the rich. Where people live mainly on milk and raw or roasted meat, so that its natural salts are not lost, sodium chloride supplements are unnecessary. Nomads with their flocks of sheep or herds of cattle, for example, never eat salt with their food. On the other hand, people who live mostly on cereal, vegetable, or boiled meat diets require supplements of salt. The habitual use of salt is intimately connected with the advance of nomadic to agricultural life, a step in civilization that profoundly influenced the rituals and cults of almost all ancient nations. The gods were worshipped as the givers of the kindly fruits of the earth, and salt was usually included in sacrificial offerings consisting wholly or partly of cereal elements. Such offerings were prevalent among the Greeks and Romans and among a number of the Semitic peoples. Covenants were ordinarily made over a sacrificial meal, in which salt was a necessary element. The preservative qualities of salt made it a peculiarly fitting symbol of an enduring compact, sealing it with an obligation to fidelity. The word salt thus acquired connotations of high esteem and honor in ancient and modern languages. Examples include the Arab avowal, "There is salt between us," the Hebrew expression, "to eat the salt of the palace," and the modern Persian phrase, "namak haram," which means untrue to salt, i.e., disloyal or ungrateful. In English, the term salt of the earth describes a person held in high esteem. Salt contributes greatly to our knowledge of the ancient highways of commerce. One of the oldest roads in Italy is the Via Salaria, which means salt route, over which Roman salt from Ostia was carried into other parts of Italy. Herodotus tells us of a caravan route that united the salt oases of the Libyan desert. The ancient trade between Aegean and the Black Sea coast of southern Russia was largely dependent on the salt ponds for evaporating seawater to obtain salt. At the mouth of the Dnieper River and on the salt fish brought from this district. China, the United States, India, Germany, Canada, and Australia are the world's largest salt producers in the early 21st century. Occurrence. Seawater. Though the material that gives seawater its salty flavor is composed of many substances, sodium chloride, or common salt, is by far the predominant compound. On the assumption that 1 gallon, about 4 litres, of seawater contains 0.231 pound, about 105 grams, of salt, and that rock salt on the average is 2.17 times as dense as water, it has been estimated that if the oceans of the world were completely dried up, they would yield at least 4.5 million cubic miles of rock salt, or about 14.5 times the bulk of the entire continent of Europe above the high water mark. Seawater contains on the average about 3% salt, although the actual concentration varies from about 1% in the polar seas to 5%. Enclosed waters such as the Mediterranean and Red Seas contain a higher proportion of salt than does the open ocean at the same latitude. Irrespective of the source of the seawater, salt obtained by the evaporation of seawater has the following composition: sodium chloride, 77.76%, magnesium chloride, 10.88%, magnesium sulfate, 4.74%, calcium sulfate, 3.60%, potassium chloride, 2.46%, magnesium bromide, 0.22%, and calcium carbonate, 0.34%. Natural brines. Brine in water containing a high concentration, brine is water containing a high concentration of salt. Natural brines of commercial importance are found in the Dead Sea, as well as in Austria, France, Germany, India, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Salt in brines is nearly always accompanied by chlorides and sulfates of potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Carbonates and the element bromine are often are present as well. The Dead Sea, which covers an area of 1,020 square kilometers, that's 394 square miles, contains approximately, 12 billion 650 million tons of salt. The Jordan River, which contains only 35 parts of salt per 100,000 parts of water, adds 850,000 tons of salt to this total each year. The concentration of salts in the Dead Sea varies from 270 to 300 parts per thousand to a depth of 40 meters. That's 130 feet. It increases gradually from 40 to 100 meters. So that's 130 to 330 feet and remains a fairly constant 332 parts per thousand below 100 meters. Dead Sea water is relatively free from sulfates and has a high proportion of potassium and bromine. Because atmospheric conditions favor evaporation by sunlight, solar evaporation, for about 8 months of the year, the production of salt, potassium, and bromine is feasible in the Dead Sea area. The process used for recovery of salt and potash is similar to that described below under salt manufacture. The Indian brines at Karagoda resemble seawater in the character of their dissolved salts, but are much more concentrated and in some cases virtually saturated. That is, they have dissolved all the salt they can. Certain natural brines occurring in the United Kingdom and the United States are of special interest because they contain salts such as the chlorides of barium and strontium that are not usually found in brines. Special processing methods are required to produce salt from such brines. In Britain, these unusual brines are found at great depths during test drillings for petroleum, while in the United States, such brines occur in deep wells in several places. Rock salt. Rock salt is crystalline sodium chloride, called halite by mineralogists. I think I've just destroyed that word. Mineralogists. Okay. You get me. It occurs widely in the form of rock masses and beds and is abundant in rocks from all geologic periods. Because of its great solubility in water, it occurs under extremely thick cover in humid regions, but lies close to the surface in arid regions. All major rock salt deposits originated from the evaporation of seawater at some time during the geologic past. Approximately 78% of the mineral matter in normal seawater is sodium chloride. Upon evaporation of about 9/10 of the volume of seawater, rock salt is precipitated. Calcium sulfate, gypsum and anhydrite, and potassium and magnesium salts also are precipitated. Deposits are found in beds from a few feet to many hundreds of feet thick. The ages of these beds range through much of geologic time. Because evaporation of a large quantity of seawater leaves only a small amount of salt, it is theorized that many extremely thick rock salt beds were deposited in partly enclosed arms of the seas in which evaporation was greater than the inflow of salt water. A barrier on the seafloor at the entrance to the basin prevented the outflow of the concentrated saline water. Such bedded salt deposits occur in the Punjab Salt Range in Pakistan and in Iran. However, these deposits have been little exploited. Similar deposits in the United States and Canada are worked extensively for both industrial and domestic use. Other important salt deposits, usually classified by the age of the surrounding rock, are found in Germany, Nova Scotia, the Subcarpathian region extending from Poland through Hungary and Romania, and the province of Sichuan in China, where salt wells have been in existence for more than 2,000 years. Another economically important type of rock salt deposit is the salt domes, which were formed when earth pressure forced up plugs of rock salt measuring approximately a mile across. The domes appear to result from pressure, which pushes the salt up through the rocks from depths as great as 50,000 feet, 15,000 meters. Many domes occur at shallow depths and are extensively mined. Domes in the Subcarpathian region of Europe have been worked since ancient times. The North German plain has many extensively mined domes, which are thought to have originated below 6,000 feet. Domes also are abundant along the US Gulf Coast. Rock salt may be obtained from domes by the usual mining methods or by drilling wells into the salt strata and pumping water down to dissolve the salt. The brine is then returned to the surface where it is processed like natural brine. Salt manufacture. At one time, almost all the salt used in commerce was produced from the evaporation of seawater, and sea salt still is a staple commodity in many maritime countries, especially where the climate is dry and the summer is long. Commercial salt is manufactured from rock salt as well as from seawater and other natural and artificial brines. Most of the artificial brines are obtained by pumping water into underground salt beds. A considerable amount of brine itself is used directly in industrial countries. Manufacture from rock salt. The beds of rock salt are mined or quarried by the usual excavation methods, depending on the depths and thicknesses of the deposits and on local conditions. The mined rock salt sometimes is dissolved and the salt manufactured by treatment of the brine, as described below. The method affords opportunities for purification of the salt. When the rock salt is of a high degree of purity, as in Poland and the United States, The salt may be ground, screened, and marketed without further processing. The salt is mined in large lumps that are first crushed, then more finely ground and screened by size into various grades. The salt is then bulk loaded into trucks, hoppers, or barges, or loaded into bags for further handling. Bulk handling has been greatly facilitated by the use of anti-caking agents, which allow the salt to be stored uncovered and outdoors without becoming a hard mass again. Manufacture from seawater and brines. Only a certain quantity of salt will dissolve in water at any given temperature. Once the solution contains as much salt as it can hold, it is said to be saturated. Any further additions of salt will not dissolve. Evaporation is the reverse of this process. When an aqueous solution of several salts, seawater for example, is evaporated, each of the salts precipitates as it reaches its point of saturation in the solution. Thus, the different salts in seawater will precipitate at different times, forming layers on the bottom of the evaporating pond. For seawater and many brines, the order of deposition is calcium carbonate, calcium sulfate, sodium chloride, magnesium sulfate, potassium magnesium chloride, and magnesium chloride. Solar evaporation. In maritime countries where there is a negative evaporation rate, i.e. the amount of water evaporating exceeds the amount of rainfall by at least 75 centimetres, about 30 inches, salt is produced by solar evaporation from seawater. The processes used are similar in general principle from country to country, but details of equipment vary from sophisticated in the United States to quite primitive in developing nations. A preliminary concentration is usually accomplished by allowing the seawater to flow through a series of gates constructed of wood or a combination of wood and concrete into a series of shallow ponds separated by dikes. In these ponds, the solution is concentrated to a specific gravity of about 1.22. This means that a given volume of brine is 1.22 times as dense as a given volume of pure water. At this stage, suspended impurities such as sand, clay, and the less soluble salts such as calcium carbonate or chalk and calcium sulfate are removed. Solar evaporation of the dead seawater is hastened by adding dye to the water. The dye permits more heat to be absorbed from sunlight in thinner layers of brine so that shallow ponds may be used and the penetration of brine into the ground is reduced. Once it has been concentrated, the brine is run through a series of crystallizing pans, usually 4 in number, where the salt is deposited as evaporation proceeds. In the first crystallizing pan, the brine is concentrated to a specific gravity of 1.23 and remains partly contaminated with calcium sulfate. The specific gravity of the solution in the pan increases slowly during crystallization of the salt, reaching 1.24 in the second pan. In the third pan, the specific gravity of the solution reaches 1.25, and the salt deposited there contains small amounts of magnesium sulfate as an impurity. The final solution, termed bitterns, has a specific gravity of 1.25 to 1.26 and is used in some countries, United States and Israel, in the manufacture of potash, bromine, Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate, and magnesium chloride. In developing countries, the salt in each crystallizing pan is raked into rows where it is allowed to drain for several days. After that, it is collected into heaps, drained again, lifted from the pans, and finally dried. In industrial countries, the salt is harvested mechanically and washed with saturated brine. It is then dewatered, washed with fresh water, and stored for further processing or direct sale. Use of artificial heat. In areas where bedded deposits can be solution mined, evaporated salt is recovered from these solutions with artificial heat. Some evaporated salt also is made from natural brine or solar salt. Formerly, brine was concentrated in open pans over fire. More recently, steam-jacketed vessels have been used. The largest amount of salt produced in the colder climates is rock salt. The largest amount of evaporated salt is produced by multiple effect vacuum evaporators, and an important quantity is made in so-called open crystallizers or grainers that produce a type of crystal preferred for use in some of the food industries. The brine, natural or artificial, is first pumped into settling tanks where calcium and magnesium compounds may be removed by chemical treatment. In grainer operations, the settled and filtered brine is delivered to the grainer, a long open trough heated with steam coils. The brine is fed into the grainer at approximately the same rate at which evaporation is taking place and at a temperature only slightly below that of the brine in the grainer. The residue of brine, or bitters, may be removed continuously, once a day or less often. Evaporation occurs at the surface of the liquid and the crystals originate there. They remain at the surface, held up by the surface tension of the brine. The crystal grows at the top edges, becoming a small inverted hollow pyramid or hopper. Eventually, the hopper sinks and ceases to grow. When the crystals are recovered, the salt is largely in the form of flakes, hence the name flake salt. When multiple effect evaporators are used, the vacuum in each vessel is adjusted so that the vapor from the first vessel is hot enough to boil the brine in the second, the vapor from the second supplying the heat to operate the third vessel or effect. The brine is usually sent through the stages or effects in succession, although in the case of salt manufacture, fresh brine may be fed to each stage if desired. With open pans, 4,500 to 5,400 kilograms, that's 10,000 to 12,000 pounds, of steam are required to produce 900 kilograms, which is 1 ton, of salt. With triple effect evaporation, 630 kilograms, that's 1,400 pounds, of steam produce 1 ton of salt. The Alberta process is partially a vacuum pan and partially a grainer operation in which cubic crystals are formed in the solution fed to the grainer pans by a partial vacuum pan evaporation. These seed crystals in the grainer produce a salt that is a mixture of the grainer type flake and the flake grown on seed crystals. About 1,360 kilograms, that's 3,000 pounds, of steam are required to produce 1 ton of salt. Salt from the Alberta process is centrifuged, spun, from the brine and then dried. Table salt may have small amounts of aluminium calcium silicate, magnesium silicate, tricalcium silicate, magnesium carbonate, or tricalcium phosphate added to keep it free flowing. Iodized salt has potassium iodide added. In some countries, yellow prussiate of soda to prevent caking is added in minute amounts as regulated by the government. Why do people throw salt over their shoulders? Right, well, I don't think that's relevant to the composition of salt. That's mainly what I was looking for. And that's that article read. I will be putting the link to this in the description of this live stream, and we've got 3 minutes left. Well, that's great. I got through that article. Let's have a look through the chat. Who have we got? We've got Ravioli saying what? Why do people throw salt over their shoulder? I think it's a superstitious thing about throwing salt in the devil's eye or something like that. It's at the end of the article. You can go and have a look at that yourself. You think it's relevant? Of course you do. Okay, and you find it ironic that you're eating chips with salt and vinegar while learning about salt. Okay, that's great. Hello, Graham McRobert in the chat. Attention and salute to you too. Right, well, that was that. That was our exploration, the beginning of our exploration of salt. Next week, hopefully, we'll have our panelists with a different topic. Thank you for being here. Thank you for beginning my journey, my exploration into salt, and really starting to think, what do we really know about it? See you next week.
She's laughing with a whiteboard clear, unpacking a fresh pack of pens, never willing to accept of fear. She's loved in many channels, every gauge and on nights and black blue lights. Heaven help them when she recites. Mysterious life, girl got skills. She moves in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. Makeshift guests and a cat that bites. When you see her coming, take your pills. No place for snowflakes or sensitive hearts. When sentiment is left to chance, she'll send you back to your start. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switches to crumpet, bends them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Verse by verse, exploring the text. She reads and recites, not knowing the tongue, learning every step of the way. Melts all your memories and feeds you facts. Her zeal is like fire, but her heart is of gold. We all know it, she's a smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Smooth moderator. Toast to toast, sometimes switch to crumpet, bands them to jail. Across social media, buy memberships for bail. Smooth moderator.